Welcome to Module 6 in the 2023 Test Security Training Series. OSSE's Office of Assessments has developed a series of training modules to prepare LEA Test Integrity Coordinators, LEA Assessment Managers, LEA Test Coordinators, and non-public school test coordinators for the Spring 2023 statewide assessment administrations. This is the last module in the Test Security Training Series. There are 6 required training modules. These modules are required for all LEA Test Integrity Coordinators, LEA Assessment Managers, LEA Test Coordinators, and non-public school test coordinators, including those responsible for access and alternate access, MSAA, DLM, DC Science, and PARC. The modules follow the order of activities in the assessment coordination timeline. Upon completion of all training modules, you will need to complete a quiz and certification form verifying that you have viewed all content. A score of 80% or higher out of 120 total points on the quiz will serve as the official attendance and completion of the 2023 Test Security Training. In Module 6, we will cover administration closeout and reporting. This assessment coordination timeline shows the activities needed in order to complete statewide assessment administration in the District of Columbia. The color and shape of each icon indicates who's performing each action, which is outlined on this slide and discussed in Module 0. Starting in Module 1, these icons appeared in the top right corner of slides to indicate where in the coordination process these activities occur. You may find it helpful to have this timeline available for reference as you go through each training module. Each training module provides detailed information on the activities in the assessment coordination timeline. In this module, we will cover steps highlighted in the orange dotted line: collect testing materials, return, shred, secure testing materials, close out testing, an online platform, finalize school test security file, submit test security affidavit to OSSE, complete OSSE data validation, LEAs receive student data, OSSE releases test results publicly, individual score reports, ISR, sent to schools, and share ISRs with families. We will begin this module by covering assessment closeout. The first step we will talk about in assessment closeout will be collect testing materials. Test security reminder. Test administrators must ensure that all secure materials are collected and in their possession prior to the student receiving any other materials or beginning any other activities. The next step in assessment closeout will be return of shred secure testing materials. Test administrators must return all testing materials to the secure storage location as soon as testing is over and sign the chain of custody form. The test monitor or school test coordinator is responsible for securely storing all secure testing materials as soon as they are returned. The test monitor or school test coordinator should review test coordinator manuals to determine which materials to shred and which to return to the vendor. All secure materials that will not be returned to the testing vendor following test administration should be securely shredded with a witness present. Some examples of materials to securely destroy include used scratch paper and testing ticket or login information. For the access and alternate access assessments, when returning test booklets to WIDA, any booklet that contains student response information must have either a pre-ID label or a district school label with bubbled student information. School test coordinators should refer to the test administrator manual for details on returning materials. At the end of MSAA testing, test coordinators should destroy secure MSAA materials. All printed materials should be collected and securely shredded. At the end of DLM testing, test coordinators should collect and securely destroy user and password information, tip pages, and related materials. For Park and DC Science, secure and scorable materials will need to be returned to Pearson at the end of testing. Each item that must be returned will include a secure material label. Shipments from Pearson will include labels and packaging for returning secure materials. So keep these labels and packaging for use at the end of testing. Return shipments must be sent to Pearson within 5 school days of the last day of testing. The last day to return scorable paper-based materials is May 26, 2023. The last day to return secure materials used during computer-based testing is June 2, 2023. Contact UPS to schedule a pickup for your materials. Additional details about returning secure materials can be found in the Park and DC Science Test Coordinator Manual. If the school test coordinator has any test materials printed out, for example, a list of PAN sessions or rosters, they should discard and or shred those materials as soon as possible after testing is complete. For the 2022-2023 administration year, there will be a new form to assist with the tracking and return of secure test materials for the Park and DC Science assessments. Prior to returning secure materials to Pearson, school test coordinators will complete a form documenting that the items returned, their serial numbers and barcodes, shipment pickup date, and tracking information. This form will then be submitted to LEA test coordinators and kept in the school's testing files. The form to return secure materials can be found both in the Test Coordinator Manual and on OSSE's Test Coordinator Resource page. The next assessment closeout step is closeout testing in online platforms. Some testing platforms require closeout actions at the end of student sessions or the testing window. Ensure that all steps in the testing manual are followed for the online closeout process. Access test coordinators must complete the data validation process separate from OSSE's data validation process in WIDA AIMS at the end of testing. Pre-reporting data validation, LEAs and AIMS will occur April 21st through April 28th. Tutorials of the data validation process and after testing activities are available in WIDA AIMS. For MSAA, test administrators should ensure all tests have been submitted and are closed by the school test coordinator in the MSAA platform. They should also complete the accommodations after test tab in the testing platform and the end of test survey. For DLM, once the final unit of testing is complete, no additional actions need to be taken for closeout. When a Park or DC Science test session is complete, the session should be stopped in Pearson Access Next. This action will close that session for all students. All efforts should be made to complete makeup testing. If a student has an incomplete unit and was unable to complete testing during the makeup window, the student's unit can be marked complete and the session can be closed after the last day of testing at the school. The next step in assessment closeout is to finalize the school test security file. The school test coordinator must ensure that all required information in the school test security file is updated after the test administration of each assessment. Every school is required to keep the updated file in hard copy format for 4 years. Test security reminder. Every school must keep an updated version of the test security file in hard copy format on site for 4 years. OSSE may request to see the test security file at any time within the 4-year time frame. The next step in assessment closeout is to submit test integrity and test security affidavits to OSSE. Within 10 days after the close of each statewide assessment window, the LEA test coordinator or LEA test integrity coordinator must obtain signed affidavits from the non-public and school test coordinator for each assessment. Within 15 days after the close of each statewide assessment window, LEAs must submit all school affidavits and one LEA level for each approved school test security plan, Access, Alt Access, MSA DLM, and Park DC Science to OSSE via the OSSE support tool, OST. Note, schools should refer to QuickBase for approved school test security plans to ensure that you are submitting an affidavit for all required assessments. Non-public school test coordinators must sign affidavits and submit them to OSSE via the OSSE support tool, OST. If you are an LEA test coordinator or a non-public school test coordinator and you do not have access to the OSSE support tool in the QuickBase application, please contact osse.assessment@dc.gov to request access. This slide shows the due dates for test security affidavits by assessment program. The 10 days from the assessment end date is the date by which LEAs must obtain signed affidavits from the school test coordinator for each approved test security plan. Please note, the due to OSSE via OST date is no later than 15 days after the close of the statewide window. Your submission date may be earlier depending on the final day of testing in your LEA. The LEA test coordinator must submit one affidavit for each assessment program. The school test coordinator must submit an affidavit for each approved school test security plan. If you are both the LEA and the school test coordinator, please indicate that on the affidavit upon submission. Note, assessment-specific due dates for the test integrity and test security affidavits will be included in upcoming NGA bulletins and is also shown on the previous slide. This final section covers the 5 assessment steps not related to test security or administration. These steps primarily focus on reporting and validation, but we wanted to show them here so we cover the entire test coordination timeline. The first icon here is to complete the OSSE data validation process. This process is not managed by the Office of Assessments. Data managers at your LEAs and schools will be contacted by OSSE's Office of the Chief Information Officer, CIO, who will provide details about that process. One assessment data point that CIO will ask for is for LEA test coordinators to confirm the start and end dates for each of the school's assessments are correct in the school test security plan QuickBase application. This completes Module 6 and the entire 2023 Test Security Training Module Series. Please follow the link here to access the 2023 test security training quiz, and certification form. Remember that you must receive a score of at least 80% or higher out of 100 total 20 points in order to receive credit for completing this training series. Reminder, OSSE will not approve school test security plans if the LEA test coordinator listed has not completed this training series and the quiz. This slide contains links to important resources that were discussed in these test security training modules. This includes links to OSSE's assessment web pages, as well as resources for specific assessments. This concludes Module 6, Administration, Closeout, and Reporting. If you have questions about OSSE assessment policies or specific assessment programs, please feel free to use the information on this slide to reach out to the appropriate member of the OSSE assessment team.